So I am going to go ahead and close the engine bay. We don't need it. I actually just installed a new set of wipers. We're going to talk about that in the coming weeks. But on today's episode, we are going to go ahead and clean the interior of the C5 Corvette. Hey vet heads, so on today's episode, we are going to take the car and prep it for a car show. Now, there is still quarantine, everyone's still home because of COVID, and unfortunately that means there's no car shows going on at the moment. But that doesn't mean I don't want the car looking its best as much as possible, so we're going to go ahead and split it up and clean the car. Now, I'm going to split this into three parts. We're going to do interior, exterior, and then engine bay. And typically when I do clean the car for a car show, most of my shows are either on a Saturday or a Sunday. I will start Friday night. I will do a piece Friday night, usually the exterior. Saturday morning, I'll get up, clean the interior, followed by a fresh coat of wax for the show. That's typically how I do it. We're going to do it just a little bit out of order this time. We're going to go ahead and start with the interior today. Possibly get it washed before the end of the day. Not really sure, so you're going to see how long it takes us. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and wax it either tomorrow or Sunday. It is actually currently Friday that I'm filming this. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, right up front, I am not saying the way I do it is the best way or the number one way or this is the way everybody should be doing it. I am sure there are things I do that will make people cringe or just maybe egregious. I shouldn't be doing it. But for the most part, it works really well for me. I haven't had any major problems. I actually haven't had any problems because of it. So I'm just going to show you how I do it. That being said, let me know down in the comments how you do it, if you do anything differently, or if there's something you thought I did wrong, just let me know. I'm willing to learn still. Again, not saying I am the king of washing a car. I will say this, though. I do everything by hand. I know a lot of people have those spray foams or the pressure washers, essentially, or what I guess spray foam, and they wash the car that way. I do still do mine by hand. I prefer to do it that way, for no other reason than I just enjoy the process. So I don't want to ramble anymore. I want to go ahead and get started. So there are a few products I am going to use to clean the interior of the Corvette. Everything I use will be available in the description below so that you can check them out yourselves if you think it's something you want to give a shot to. The first is Chemical Guys. Now, I found these guys through an Amazon promotion. I actually went and picked them up from the Amazon truck near my house. This is the Interior Clean Quick Detailer. I actually like this. I think it does a really nice job cleaning the interior. The other thing I'm going to be using is the Outlast Leather Restorer for Armor All. I've just, out of the few that I've tried, I've really liked Outlast a lot. So I use it time and time again, and just it's really been pretty good. But before I do any of that, before I start wiping anything down, I have to get rid of the big junk out of the car. Now, you're probably thinking, what do you mean big junk? Well, coffee cups for one. There's only one this time, but usually there's a few. I do daily drive my Corvette. If you're watching this channel for the first time, yeah, this car goes out every single day. I drive it to work. So a lot of times I'm having my coffee on the way to work. That being said, sometimes they get spread out in here. There's also just other general trash that needs to be removed, as well as it's getting hot, but a couple weeks ago it was cold and there's a few sweatshirts left in here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out all the big items, and then we're going to start wiping down. So I knew this was inevitable and I was going to forget something, but we are also going to vacuum the car. All I'm going to use for that is just the wet dry shop vac. Go ahead and clean it all out. Now you'll notice in there that I do currently have all weather mats from WeatherTech. I use them mostly in the winter, fall, and a little bit, well, I guess into the spring now. They'll probably stay in about another 2 or 3 weeks. And then once we get out of the rainy season, I will replace them with the original mats. And then again, back to the seasoned mats once we get into October, November. So let's go ahead and vacuum the car. So there are a few things you'll see that I won't be doing today on the interior. I am not going to touch the windows. I usually save the windows until I've actually washed the entire car. So I'm going to hold off on the windows until tomorrow or later tomorrow. Let's be honest, it's going to be tomorrow at this point. So you'll notice that there's a few coffee stains here. Again, this is all, a lot of this stuff is just daily drive wear and tear, dirt that's accumulated. There's quite a lot of dust up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just spray the inner clean around. Now this has a really nice scent. This is baby powder. So it does leave the car smelling really good for about 3 or 4 days. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and just wipe down all the surfaces. Now you'll notice I added a few sprays. I'm not gonna continue to spray. Once I get this towel kind of wiping stuff down, it stays fairly moist and I don't have to worry about it too much. For the gauges and such, I don't really soak it. I just wet the towel a little bit and give it a good wipe. So I'm just gonna go ahead and flip these down. I'm gonna give the trim pieces up through here a wipe down, and that should be about, oh, if I can speak English, that should about do it. I know what you're thinking, I didn't show the trunk area, and I just got done in the trunk area. And there's really a reason I didn't show it, and that's because there's really not much back there. Honestly, the speakers are the only plastic trim pieces back there for the most part, and that's as simple as the rest of the interior, honestly. It's just an easy wipe down of everything. So far we have vacuumed the car. We wiped down the interior. It's looking a lot cleaner on the inside. There's a lot of the dust and dirt has just kind of gone away. There are a few more things that probably need a little bit of a touch up, like the steering wheel needs to get wiped down a second time. But for all intents and purposes, the last thing we need to do on the interior are the seats. Now I do want to say there are a few things that as I'm going along, I remember doing as I go to car shows, and that is like the door sills. So I'm going to open up the door and actually let me grab the camera and I'll show you. So typically when I wash the car just for pleasure, if I'm going out for a nice drive and I just want to make sure the car is at its cleanest, I don't worry about the door sills, which is why you can see they are really dirty. I honestly probably haven't touched the door sills since, well, winter, before winter, honestly. But pieces like that you do want to pay attention to when you're getting ready to go to a car show. A lot of times you'll be opening the door. I know I have a lot of kids, children come up that get really excited about the Corvette. And I'm always happy to share the Corvette and let people sit in the driver's seat. It's not something that bothers me. And I think it's just nice. So I do want to make sure that those door sills are cleaned. That being said, there are a few other locations throughout the car. We're going to talk about those though when we do the body. So I don't know how this is going to come out on video. Once I do editing, I'll have to see. But there are quite a few coffee stains in here. Oh man, I must have messed up somewhere along the line and put down not quite an empty coffee cup. Anyway, we're going to take care of those in a second. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as I mentioned, I am going to use Outlast, Armor All Outlast Leather Restorer. I've used a few other products, and it's not that I don't like them. It's just that I keep coming back to this one because I seem to like it the most. I'm sure there are plenty of good products out there. Again, all of the products I use today will be in the description below. So all I do with Outlast is I just put a little bit on a clean cloth. And I generally like to start in the spaces without perforation, so that I'm not clogging the perforation too much. And I'm just going to go through and wipe gently. You can see hopefully you can see that all the coffee stains are just lifting right up. Just gonna put a dab on and go ahead and clean up the back as well. So after wiping the driver's seat, I used the Outlast to touch up the steering wheel, shift knob, and the e-brake, being sure to get the boot on the last two. With that, we're gonna find that our interior is now ready for show, and it brings us to the end of this episode. If you made it to the end, thanks, and consider subscribing to the channel. See you on the next episode when we tackle the exterior.